Goliath was a 10-foot doink. Hi everybody, Alan Gill here again. How are you guys? What's new? Check out my headband. Do you like it? So lately, I have been watching Encanto, and I absolutely love Isabella. So let's just dive into our Bible story for today. We're going to be talking about David and Goliath. So come closer. Let's backtrack a bit. When Samuel was old, he appointed his sons as Israel's leaders. But they did not follow in Samuel's ways. They were dishonest. One day, all of Israel's leaders gathered to Samuel at Ramah. They really wanted a new king. They said, "You are old and your sons do not follow you. Now appoint a new king to lead." And they said, "Give a new king to lead." Samuel was displeased. So he prayed to the Lord. God told Samuel to find a man named Jesse in Bethlehem. One of his sons will be the new king. So now we fast forward to when Samuel chooses David. Jesse had 8 sons. Jesse lined 7 sons up. They were all very handsome. God said to Samuel, He cares about what's in a person's heart, not their looks. So as Samuel walked past each son, God said, "Not this one." Samuel asked Jesse, "Do you have any more sons?" Jesse said, "There is still the youngest, but he's tending to sheep." Samuel then said, "Send for him. We won't sit until he arrives." So Jesse called David. "Devo! Come now, man!" Kidding, he sent for him, and they waited until he arrived. When he arrived, God said, "That's the one." So Samuel anointed him to be the new king. Now David's brothers were soldiers in the army. So one day David was carrying food for them. When David went to carry the food, the soldiers were on the battlefield up against Goliath. Goliath was almost a 10 feet tall giant. His bronze armor alone looked like it weighed more than David. David really wanted a chance to go up against Goliath. He always had a slingshot with rocks to scare off lions that would harm his sheep. There was one time that a lion grabbed one of his sheep. David took his slingshot and hit the beast in his head. David really wanted a chance to go up against Goliath. He had confidence. He knew God was on his side. And God's on all of our sides, by the way. Goliath the Philistine was always a champion in all his previous battles. But not this one. So he went to King Saul and told him he wanted to fight Goliath. King Saul gave him an armor, but the armor was too heavy for David. So with the king's permission, he took off the armor, and he was finally ready to fight Goliath. So as the Israelites were running from Goliath, David ran toward Goliath. David walked on the battlefield and looked at Goliath. Goliath stood and looked at David. David said, "Come against me with a mighty spear and a heavy armor. But I come against you in the name of God. The same God will deliver you into my hands." David reached into his pouch for a stone, loaded his slingshot, whirled and whirled, and hit him. Boom! The stone hit his forehead, and Goliath went crashing down. David had beaten Goliath. David's brothers lifted him up. They danced and shouted for joy, slew Goliath. And that's the end. So hit subscribe and stay tuned for more Bible stories and indoor adventures. Next time, Goliath was almost a 10-foot tall guy. Now a point for new king to lead. Goliath stood. God is on all of our sides about Goliath was a 10-foot Joel. Goliath was a 10-foot doink.